Welcome to another review of Universal Month. Okay, so this time I decided to take a look at a drama, basically a classic drama, which stars two veteran actors. That movie is Katharine Hepburn, Henry Fonda, and Jane Fonda in On Golden Pond. Yeah, On Golden Pond was filmed from 1981. This was a tongue twister there. This was a very well made, fun film. It's a great drama. It's one of those movies that you can watch with grandparents. It's a grandparents movie, and that's really what this movie is. It's so heartwarming and touching though. So I'll give the rundown of this film. I'll give the rundown. Let's talk about this movie. Henry Fonda plays Norman and Katharine Hepburn as Ethel Thayer? I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. Basically, they live in a place in the summertime called the On Golden Pond, which is actually filmed in New Hampshire, if you're curious. And their daughter, Carissa, I think it is. No, Chelsea, I think it is. The daughter, Chelsea, arrives with, I think, her son. And she basically wants his kid to stay with the grandparents a while, to get him adjusted into the countryside. And usually they just want him to be the grandparents. The grandson, Billy Ray, is played by Doug McKennon. I think it is Doug McKennon. He's a, I don't want to say he's a recluse, but he's a guy who's never been out in the valley before. So basically, love sort of blossoms, and Jane Fonda plays the mother who doesn't really seem to get along with her parents, but it's a really hard story to explain without getting too much into the plot. So his dad, Bill Ray, I think Dabney Coleman is Bill Ray, the guy from 9 to 5. But yeah, so pretty much about that. I'm trying to think what else to say about this film that I haven't said enough. It's a great movie. It's really hard to kind of explain what this movie is not really trying to be, but for what it is, I like this movie. I think it's a great sort of family film. So I am going to pick out a couple of negatives in the film. Though there's one scene where the dad is like standing like that. The boat just keeps like moving and moving, and all of a sudden he falls right in the water. I don't know. I'm sitting there. He's going to fall, and I'm right. That was sort of predictable. I don't really call it predictable. I call it the dumbass move. First off, he was a dumbass for doing it, though, pretty much, though. So, I'm trying to think, is there any... Oh, kind of bothered me a little bit, though, but if the only negative, and this kind of bothers me, Billy Ray seems to like to use the word, excuse the language, he seems like to use the word shit a lot in the film. And this movie uses the word shit maybe about 10 or 12 times. I'm surprised this film didn't get a PG-13 because of that. Because, honestly, this movie is a PG-rated film. I don't know how the MPAA didn't check up on this when they went to judge it. But apparently they didn't double-check that. I think I might know why this didn't get a PG-13. The PG-13 rating didn't come until 84. I meant to think about that. This was released in 1981. This would be 3 years later until PG-13 was introduced in 1984. Had this movie been made in 1984, it probably would get a PG-13, just because the amount of that word being used. There's a really cool X-ray segment on that new rating that at the movies, the old Siskel and Ebert show. They did a segment on the new PG-13 rating. So yeah, that could have been the problem because I spotted that so much. There's also one scene where the mom says shit and then the son says oh shit. It just connects. There's a lot of heartwarming scenes. It's just a heartwarming family drama with some humor though. But the boy getting along with the grandfather, there's one scene where he's driving, but he's driving a boat. He wants to take the boat, but the grandfather's like, absolutely not. And then the grandmother is like, "God, let him, Norman." There's a ton of language in this film. I forgot to mention about that. Here's a ton of language, yeah, and it's just they're great though. Although it's the first time I ever saw, I will say, I ever saw Henry Fonda give the finger. Yeah, he literally gives the finger in the film. There's one scene where he gives the finger. I thought that was kind of cool though. It's a great performance though. The movie did receive a good chunk of Oscars. It was nominated for 10 Oscars. It won for 2. In addition to that, I'll mention what the Oscars, what they were nominated for Oscar. And that was for cinematography, sound. It also won, it says it won 2 Oscars, but actually technically won 3. It also won for screenplay. That was the other Oscar that it took home. I just want to let you know that this is a Universal film, but it was put out by Artisans. I guess I'll show you the cover art real quick. This is an Artisan special edition, as you can see right here. I like the gold boss. This is probably maybe my favorite artwork. So yeah, this was actually released by ITC, but if you go online, it was Universal, who also, I guess Universal distributed the film in America. ITC had the rights in the British. It's kind of like we did with the Great Muppet Caper. That was also a Universal film, but for some reason that was ITC and Disney, but it started out as Universal, if I make myself clear. There's some good special features. You actually get a commentary track. Yeah, you get a commentary track with the director and writer, and you also get a Katharine Hepburn tribute documentary, which is actually pretty good though. The newly remastered widescreen didn't really do much. This was actually a 2003 DVD. So there's a Katharine Hepburn tribute because Katharine Hepburn passed on in 2003, right around the time this DVD was made. So, I'm just rambling though, but I love the disc art. I guess I'll show you what the disc looks like inside. I don't know if you can see me. That is some awesome disc art. That's how you make disc art. It's a great heartwarming story. So I guess I talked a lot. I'm trying to think. Only negative I could easily say are maybe only a couple scenes were predictable. I can't fault the movie for having a lot of language, but they could have toned it down, in my opinion. But yeah. One more thing before I kind of give you the final thoughts. Dave Gerstner did one track that I've heard before I even watched this film. It was on a radio station. Something like that. I heard that on a radio station called WKVA around high school. I was like, this is really good. Dave Gerstner is just a legend. I did review when he did the movie, he did the score for Havana, and I was fantastic. He also did the score for Goonies, which I didn't know. That's another classic. Yeah. I think I already mentioned what I can, but my favorite part is easily probably the score. Dave Gerstner nailed it out of the park with this. And it's too bad that didn't win for the score, because it just nailed it out of the park. He only won one, and that was in 1988's The Mongolo Beanfield War. So he did one for that. So yeah, that's about it. I'm like only about 2 blocks of battery. So I'm gonna now talk about the final verdict that has been said. And so, final verdict is you absolutely have to see On Golden Pond. Another fantastic film in the Universal Library. Even though this is a Universal film, I want to keep that in mind before I do that. But even if it wasn't, this film is just so good. It's timeless. It's a movie that I could watch with my grandmother. And this is a movie I'm going to watch a second time with my grandmother. It's a timeless film that needs to be seen. Film lovers are going to love this movie. I loved every single moment of it. It's my favorite film. It's my favorite movie that Henry Fonda made. The whole entire cast. Katharine Hepburn's fantastic. Not fantastic. It's fantastic, is what I meant to say. Tongue twister, I should say. The other Katharine Hepburn film I've ever saw was Lion in the Winter. And she was good in this. Not as good as this. See this film. If you love family films, if you want to see these three at their best, or if you're into 80s films like I am, stuff that came out in like the early 80s, my favorite decade of 80s movies is between 1986 and 1989. 1989 is probably my favorite year because I was born that year. If I was 10 in 1981, I would have begged my parents to take me to see this film. There's something just that good about it. I'm going to do a top 10 list of movies I watched, what my favorite Universal films that I've watched this year. And I can easily tell you, the two movies that are definitely going to make it in my top 5 spot is this and American Made. I don't know what spot it is. It's going to be a tough call. It's going to be a battle between this or American Made. It's really hard to say what it is. I can't believe I missed out on this movie many years. I would have loved this film if I saw it on VHS as a kid. Now, it was released by FHE Home Video, and that's probably why, because I don't like seeing that logo on screen. That FHE logo, terrifies me as a child. And that logo still terrifies me, even as an adult watching it on YouTube. So that's why I never bothered watching old FHE logos, because they scared me. That's why I never watched the Ninja Turtles VHS. You absolutely, I'm not going to, yeah. Like I said again, see this film. I'm rambling. Great film. Don't want to give away the end, although the end was kind of, I don't want to give away the ending, but I want to say the way I wanted it to end should have been the way the movie is. They had my version of that ending. You'll have to watch for yourself. If that happened, it would make it a much stronger film. But regardless, see this film, a total masterpiece, one of the best. So that's it. And since it is a double feature, I'm going to go to a 1980s comedy, which is going to star a famous stand-up comedian directed by my favorite director. One of them. You don't want to miss it. See you then.